All right, hey Math 6, welcome back, lesson 114. So today we're going to be talking about unit multipliers. This is one of those things that it's really not that hard, but for some reason it's just real easy to get it mixed up. And so also I think maybe the way that you do conversions in science class might look a little bit different. So when I introduce this method, some students are like, that's not how I'm used to seeing it. So just bear with me, okay? But this will actually help you in the long run, because next year, whenever you cover this topic, you're going to get even a little bit more in depth with it, and you're going to need to know how to do it this way, okay? So even if you're like, I can convert without using unit multipliers, I want you to try this method, okay? So stick with me. I want you guys to hang in there and do this this way, okay? It's important that you do it the way I'm teaching you today. Sometimes I'm very lenient on methods. I'm like, this one's not a big deal. This one is, okay? I need you guys to hear me. This one's important because you are going to use this in the future. So make sure that you are paying attention and trying to implement this method whenever you do your homework this week, okay? So let's look at what it means to multiply or to use unit multipliers. So here, let me pull this up real quick. We got a little definition. So a unit multiplier, let's just give this a little color. It's always better to look at when it's got a little color. So a unit multiplier is a fraction that equals 1. Okay, so what that means is any unit multiplier, which down here I gave a bunch of examples of like conversions, like common conversion rates that you already know. So you already know that 12 inches equals a foot. You already know that 3 feet equals a yard, and you already know that 16 ounces equals a pound, okay? That's not new information. The way that you're setting this up and using it to convert is what will look a little bit different, okay? So a conversion or a unit multiplier, used from 12 inches and 1 foot could look like this. 12 inches for every 1 foot, or it could be flip-flopped. It could be 1 foot for every 12 inches. Now you may be asking, what does that mean that it's a fraction equal to 1? Well, let's think about it. If 12 inches is in fact the same as 1 foot, if you think about that in your mind right now, a ruler is 12 inches. A ruler is also a foot. That's the exact same measurement of distance. So if this measurement is exactly the same as this measurement, then we're basically dividing something by itself, which always gives us 1. Same thing here. We're dividing something by itself. It's an equal measure, always equals 1. So when we say it's a fraction that equals 1, that's what we're talking about, okay? So don't get too mixed up on that. You have to pay attention to the units to think about the whole equal to 1 part. Okay, so let's move on and look a little bit at what this looks like. So if we wanted to write 2 unit multipliers using these equivalent measures, so it's very similar to what I just did, 3 feet equals 1 yard. Well, we could say 3 feet for 1 yard, or we could flip-flop it and put 1 yard over 3 feet. So now your next question might be, okay, well, how do I know when to put it which way? Like, how do I know when the 3 feet is supposed to go on top and when it's supposed to go on the bottom? That's a great question, and that's where we're going next. So now we're going to look at how you know which one to use, because that's just as important as knowing the conversion rate itself, okay? So in B, it says, which unit multiplier would you use to convert 30 yards to feet? So we're trying to go from yards to feet. So when you multiply by a unit multiplier, you are multiplying by a fraction. So if you start out with 30 yards, remember 30 yards is not a fraction, but if I want to make it 1, I can put it over 1, right? And what we've learned about cross-simplifying is that if we have something that can cancel across from each other, then we want to do that. Well, it works the same way with units. So if I'm wanting to go from yards to feet here, then in order for my yards to cancel, my yards have to be on the bottom in my other fraction, okay? So basically, whatever units you start with, that tells you what the units are going to be on the bottom of your unit multiplier. Okay, let me say that again to make sure it sinks in. Whatever units you start with, that's going to be the units on the bottom of your unit multiplier. So here we started with yards, so yards is going to be the bottom of our unit multiplier, okay? Now our conversion rate that we just talked about in part A is that it's 3 feet for every 1 yard. So now our yards are going to cancel. That was our whole goal there. And we just multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. So 30 times 3 gives me 90. 1 times 1 is just 1. Remember, dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. So you end up with 90 feet. Okay? Let's look at one more. Okay, so what if we wanted to convert 30 feet to yards? Isn't that what we just did? Hold on. Which unit multiplier? Oh, I jumped the gun a little bit. Sorry, guys. I already did this. We already did it. It was just in part B, it was just asking us which one to use. So this one's asking you to actually do it. I just kind of jumped the gun and did them all together. Okay, so I think you guys got this. So again, though, make sure that you're thinking about the unit multiplier. If you don't set up the unit multiplier correctly, it's not going to work. So I just want to reiterate. When you multiply by the unit multiplier, you take whatever units you started with, and that's going to go on the bottom of your unit multiplier. Okay? All right, you guys got this. Happy homework.